worse. So I'm gonna go figure out where receiving is at. Satellite, and I saw them when I was coming in. So I'm assuming that there's somebody there. So other than running to one side out of fuel and having to balance the load, it's worked out to be a pretty decent trip. There we go. Resin unloading area. Silo A, B, and C's. Hope I have 2 hoses. So, anywho's, we'll check back with you in just a second. Well, we're just about set up here. That's one silo where I'm not at. I am right over here with my old girl. And there's the silos. I'm in the middle one. And they just took a sample. They're going to do a lab test. Should take about half an hour. And then we can get started. But as I was already kind of worried about, they want me to unload this at 5 psi. So it's going to take a moment, but whatever. On a trip like this, it's not the end of the world if it takes an hour longer to unload, because I'm not going to make it home till Saturday anyway. So that little hiccup that I had there in the morning on Tuesday didn't really cost me any time, like running out of fuel. Like, it cost me 3 hours, but by the time I got to the yard, I still had to wait for the load and the paperwork and all that. So this is how screwy it is with your hours. What I should have done was waited until they called me and said the load is ready, we're just waiting on the customs paperwork, and then go to the yard, because I slept about 3 hours away from this place last night, and that's exactly what's going to cost me my Saturday, because I should have made it here, and like, I should have been able to just get up on Tuesday in the morning, get up, get the load, pin to it, and go. And then I would have made it probably to Effingham, where we had the truck wash yesterday, and then I would have made it right here to my delivery last night. I would have been able to sleep here, unload, and then drive back to, probably back to Effingham again. Then I would have taken my 10 hours off there tonight, and then I would have made it home tomorrow night. So now I'm going to end up tomorrow night pretty well right at the border, but I'm going to run out of hours, so I'm going to have to sleep another 10 hours tomorrow night and then get up and drive home. Which, I mean, does it really matter? Not really. I'm going to be home late Friday night or early Saturday morning, so it's not the end of the world. And again, I've said this before, these trips are pretty chill. You just go out and drive and unload, and then if it takes an hour longer or whatever, it doesn't matter. But I mean, really, I'm gonna have to spend an extra 10 hours on the road because I got up too early on Tuesday, and the plan was to load it on this truck, but I didn't make it because I ran out of fuel. So at the end of the day, that's just how it works out. But I said I was going to be here Thursday morning. It is 8 o'clock here on Tuesday morning, or sorry, Thursday morning, and I'm here, so that's all that matters. And it's going to be a nice easy run home. So I don't know if any of you have been watching the trip so far, but it's about 2,500 miles round trip, or how does that work out? About 4,000 kilometers. So if we can do that in 4 days, I think we're doing okay. So anyways, we're pretty well hooked up and ready to go. just gotta wait for the technician to come back out with the lab test, which I'm assuming should pass. And then we'll unload this puppy and turn around and head right back to where we came from. So just quickly before we get started here and make a lot of noise, that there is what you call a blower, and the air comes out right there. That big pot there is basically a muffler or a silencer, and then the intake is right there on the other side. That's a big air filter. So basically it's just a big screw, a big air pump. The air goes in right there, and then it comes out of the pump right here, and we have a little gauge there that tells you the temperature, and so that blows air through this big hose and into the trailer. So this is just a regular straight up pneumatic tanker. I cannot self-load with this the way it's set up. So the air comes through this line right here, and that's where we can split it. So this little pipe here goes all the way to the top of the tank, and the bottom there, like this part, that's just to bleed off the air at the end. When I'm empty, there's going to be pressure in the tank. I'm going to open this valve and it'll be just on or vent the trailer. So this line here, that's the big one, I could go up, so I can use this one here, this valve, which is the butterfly valve, to control the pressure inside this big tank. So if there's no pressure in the tank, the material has a hard time coming out of the bottom, which is right there. It's a hopper, there's another hopper, and 2 more hoppers. However, this entire tank is one big vessel. There's no baffles in there. There's some structural inside of it to keep it from imploding or exploding, whatever. But it's all open. Most of the load is at the back. So that's what that is. So that's called your top air, that valve right there. And that is your bottom air. And that there is what they consider a product valve. So some guys will try to control the pressure with that right there, which is, in my opinion, a big no-no, because you're going to put restriction in there. It's like a butterfly, right? It's like this, it's open, and like that, obviously it's closed. So if you only open it halfway, there's a lot of restriction, creates a lot of heat. So the way I unload is I crack this valve a little bit. I never build up pressure before I open the bottom. Some guys do. On the tanker, it tells you that's what you have to do. But if there's an issue and you have this puppy under full pressure, talking like 8, 9, 10 pounds, which is a ton of air, and you open up the product valve down here and something is plugged along there or going up in the silo, blow your hose off, you have one hell of a mess. So I always open this puppy right here, about 1/4 to 1/3, that one all the way. Then I open that one all the way. Then I let it settle, which takes about, I don't know, depending on the trailer, let's say anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. And then I can control the product flow with that valve there, or through that valve, by adjusting this one here, which is the pressure going in the tank. So if I open it, I have more pressure going in the tank. If I close it, I have less pressure going in the tank. The more pressure you have inside the tank, the harder it's going to push through the bottom. So I hope that makes sense. It probably doesn't if you're new to this, but that's basically how we unload these things. So anyway, so that's how we unload this. I hope that makes sense. And then basically it'll run through there. There's actually a little sight glass here where I can see it, but basically it'll run. I'll unload the first hopper, then I'll probably do the second or the third one. I go back to the second, and then I do the last one over here. And basically that product line on the bottom, we just extend it with a hose like so. Obviously I could have got to the silo, I guess, if I'd have bumped the curb, but I don't like doing that. It's kind of hard on tires. So luckily I got two hoses, and then we blow it all the way up there, and then it's going to fall in the silo. So it was a bit of a kerfluffle. Everybody showed up out of the woodworks, wondering what was going on. I'm like, no, I'm good, man. I haven't even started yet. I'm just waiting for a lab test. So apparently they ran out yesterday, so this will last them about a week. I don't know what they make here or what they do. Don't really care either. So that's basically where we're at. So looks like I need to go buy a hat or fix my hair. Not out here to win a beauty contest though. I'm out here to make money. So anyway, it's a nice beautiful day here. Not much going on. Pretty easy trip. Apparently they need another load. I said, well, get it ready, because I'll load it on Monday and I'll be back here on Wednesday, and then I'm definitely going to be home on Friday, which would be kind of shitty to be gone for, well, be out for 4 days, come home for 2, head back out for another 4, but it would work really well for my bank account. That's what we're out here for. I mean, it's fun too. So anyway, enough said. Not much else that is going to excite anybody, I don't think. So we'll get her unloaded and see if we can make it into Missouri. And I should turn around. The sun is bad. See if we can stop at 4 State Trucks, our chrome shop. That'll be kind of cool. Enjoy the rest of your day, peeps, and we'll talk to you soon. Well, that was kind of freaky. I'll show you in a minute when we get away from the noise, but I was back here where I'm unloading, right over here, and I could smell rubber, and like, man, this place stinks. And then I looked all the way like over there. I don't know if you can see it with the sun, but there's like some sort of a vent there, and there's smoke coming out of it. So I thought, man, this stinks. So I get out of the truck, and I'm back here making sure everything's going okay. And then I walk to over here, and I looked over there between the truck and the building, and it scared the crap out of me because I thought I blew the turbo, because it was just smoking like crazy out from underneath the truck. And that's I don't know, come to the territory. So I showed you that blower earlier that I used to unload this stuff with. Well, it has a drive shaft coming off the transmission, which is called a PTO, power takeoff. So anyways, I looked down there, and there's a hanger bearing, which I'll show you in a minute, because I can't talk up there, it's too loud. And on the PTO shaft, up against the hanger bearing, there's like a little dust shield. And I know that the front engine mount is almost out of it, but it's not the end of the world, it's just the rubber bushing. But I gotta replace it, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it, that the engine is leaning forward and it's changed the angle a little bit. But anyways, long story short, the dust shield was rubbing up against the clamp. Like it's like a, I'll show you in a second, but it's like a clamp like this, and then the bearing sits in there, and then the shaft turns around in there, and that bearing is held in by a rubber bushing. So the heat shield was rubbing on the housing on the carrier, and it was creating so much heat that the rubber started to melt. That's where all the smoke was coming from. So I cooled it off, I put water on it, I shut the truck off right away. But you can't panic because you gotta like blow the line out, like you know, where I'm unloading. You can't just shut the blower off because you plug everything up. So I had to like clean that out. I just closed the valve, shut the truck off. So then I broke my screwdriver trying to get the flange to bend, and then I used a pair of channel lock pliers. And it looks like crap, but it's not touching anymore, so we're not creating any heat. So I guess I gotta either take it off when I get home or just get a new bearing put in there, which is not the end of the world, but that's the joys of being an owner-operator. And you have to be kind of self-sufficient. I'm 2,000 kilometers away from our yard, so it's not like I can call somebody. I don't know anybody around here. I'm sure with the internet we could find somebody to come out and fix it and all that kind of stuff. But I could see, like after I shut it off and cooled it off, I turned it back on, and then I saw what the problem is. So I'll show you here in a second. We'll go up there. You can't really see it. I'll have to show you after when I shut the truck off. It looks pretty wonky right now, but it's working. I'm gonna get unloaded and I'm gonna make it home. That's all that matters. It doesn't have to look good. It's gotta work, right? So here we go. I'll show you what I'm talking about. That little flange that you see spinning around there on the PTO shaft, it looks straight, but it isn't anymore because I bent the snot out of it just to get it off of that little housing. So it's just a minor little thing, and there's no grease nipple on it or anything. It's not like so the way this works too with a lot of these companies, I own the truck, I own the power takeoff unit on the transmission, and I own the drive shaft, but the blower is owned by the company that I'm leased to. So if the blower blows up, I would still try and do whatever I can to make it home. They'd probably pay me for it or whatever, doesn't matter, we all work together. But the drive shaft, that's my problem. So I always make sure it's greased properly, but that's what I thought. I'm like, oh man, here we go. So anyways, not the end of the world, but just a little something, and it goes to show you that you always gotta not only look and hear, but also use your nose, because I smelled it, and if I would have been away from the truck, which, I mean, we all do that, right? But if that rubber would have caught fire, I don't think so, but there's a possibility I could have lit my truck up like a Christmas tree, and that's not good. So you have to be somewhat technically inclined to do this tanker work, because there's always something that can go wrong or will go wrong. So anyway, nothing too exciting, but it caught my attention, that's for sure, because like I showed you earlier, between the truck and the building, like I have big stovepipes on the truck, but they're not hooked up, they're fake. So the exhaust comes out from underneath, and the way the drive shaft was spinning, it was just blowing the smoke out from underneath where the exhaust pipe is underneath the fuel tank on the passenger side. So I thought that I blew the turbo, that the turbo was pumping engine oil into the exhaust. It'll look the same way, right? So this is like, well, so far it hasn't cost me anything, but it's probably a $50 bearing, or it would have been a $2,000 turbo at least. That's probably, doesn't even touch it. It's probably more like 3,000 or 4,000 plus the labor. So a little bit of smoke, it's either it costs you $50 or 5 grand. So I don't like smoke. Anyway, that was that. So we're all done here. I'll show you quickly what I was talking about. Part on the left there, that washer or flange, whatever it is, a flange, but that kind of looks like a flower now. That was nice and smooth, but it got so close to that hanger bearing that it was just rubbing, and that's what caused the heat, which got that hanger bearing, the carrier of the hanger bearing, nice and hot, and that's what started to melt the rubber that isolates the bearing between the carrier and the drive shaft, I guess, or the bearing itself. So it was a big scare, but situation avoided, I guess. Luckily I caught it, or we would have been in big trouble. If that bearing would have let go, or if that rubber would have completely melted, then I wouldn't have been able to unload. So anyway, there's my logging device. So as you can see here, like after I unloaded, I went off duty for a little bit, but as you can see right there, I only have 8 hours driving left for today. I basically only have 8 hours left. It's 11:30 because I used up all my on-duty, not driving, and unloading times. So we'll put her in the wind. I just got to text this guy here and let him know that I managed to get the load off there. I never told anybody about my issue. Nothing they could do for me anyways, I don't think so. Anyways, we're heading back to the house. Another 2 days of trucking. Well, we're still in Oklahoma. I left the where I delivered about an hour ago. I just thought I would shoot a quick little video of some of the scenery out here. It's wide open out here in Oklahoma. You can see that I probably caught some bugs on the windshield. I don't know if they can pick up that phone or not. Anywho, pretty nice out here, I think, anyways. Just thought I would throw that in there. You guys can see what I see some days. It's kind of funny, my school teachers always told me I'd never make money looking out the window. I know that's an old joke, but they pay me pretty good out the window, and it's not always nice. Some days it's a shitty view, but it's pretty cool to be out here and see different things. I've pretty well been everywhere. It's been a long time though. Since I've been out on the highway like I am today. But yeah, I don't know, like I said before, it's kind of a love-hate relationship. I love being out here, and it's still good, but that was a pretty long haul. some fuel here. Same place I fueled up yesterday. So it'll be interesting to see how much fuel I'm going to burn. Why she shut off there, but anyway, just put some oil in the old girl. But got a steer tire that's starting to wear out really bad on the right front, so it's all part of trucking, I guess. So I won't need any more fuel to get home, and actually done pretty good this trip. I've put in quite a bit of fuel because the last week that I worked, I hardly put any fuel in, so now I got to pay for it, I guess. So, but we'll see what she does here. There you go, folks. $530 US, so that's $1.35 Canadian. So what is that? Add another 160 bucks, let's say. So about $700, $1,400. Yeah, I was pretty well right. So it was about $2,000 in fuel to go from Toronto to Oklahoma and back. So anyways, I gotta quickly go find a spot to park for the night, and then we'll get at her again in the morning. And I just did the math, I'm gonna be able to make it home tomorrow, so I'll explain that in a bit when I'm parked here, how that's gonna work. Well, that's it for today. I think we did okay. I don't know how many kilometers or miles I drove, quite a few. I'm out of hours actually, which reminds me, I should change my little doohickey here and put myself in the sleeper. I gotta do the math yet on what my mileage is, and it's gonna get better, obviously, as I'm empty. But we drove from here to, what was it, 6 hours, and then another 3 is 9, and another 8 is 17. So I'm thinking it's about 1,600 kilometers, which is about 1,200 miles. No, I'm wrong about that. 1,600. It's about 1,000 miles. Stupid. And I drove 1,000 miles on 138 gallons. So if you divide 1,000 by 140, that's not too shabby if you think about it. For the old girl, for those of you that are interested, it's got a C15 Cat 6NZ. It's a 14.6 liter diesel, and they're not known to get the best fuel mileage. I don't drive that fast. I was pushing it this morning, but usually I sit around 60-65 mile an hour, somewhere between 100 and 110 kilometers an hour. And so yeah, so the reason I'm gonna make it home tomorrow, that's what I almost forgot. From here to Detroit is 600 miles, or 1,000 kilometers, however you want to look at it. And I have 11 hours of driving in the US. So I should be able to cover that in 10.5 hours. So what's going to happen is, as soon as I cross the border to go from Detroit into Windsor, providing I don't waste a lot of time tomorrow, I'm going to gain 2 hours. And I live 2 hours from Detroit. So by the time I get to the yard where I park, which is only like 5 minutes from my house, if that, or in the lot, I'm hardly going to have any time left. But if it all works out, I should make it, providing there's not a whole lot of hold-ups, accidents, border, that sort of stuff, right? So anyways, that's it for today, and we'll do one more of these and then I should be home.